I haven't said this much. Uh, I was sleeping and I woke up and I had an anxiety attack. So I took my camera and I started to film because I wanted the fans to see what it's about. This is way early on, 5 years ago. And I put the camera on, and as I'm watching that, Steve Harvey is on the show, whatever show he was on, saying, "Can you believe these guys shoot themselves doing anything anymore?" And I'm like, I laughed, and it was good to laugh in that state, right? Hi, this is Maurice Benard, and this is Famous with Jacy on Valeras.
Okay. Maurice Benard, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh my goodness, I am such a fan. Obviously, grew up watching you on television. You are a three-time Emmy Award winner, a New York Times bestselling author, actor, podcaster. You've done so many incredible things in your career, and I cannot wait to dive in to some of those. I want to start, though, by going back to your early beginnings. You grew up in San Francisco and you started modeling before you were an actor. So take me back to that time in your life and tell me just a little bit about how you became interested in doing all the things that you're doing today.
Well, growing up, I was working in a supermarket and at Best Products doing. I didn't know what I wanted to do, so somebody suggested I get into modeling, and I was a tough guy. I said, I'm not that guy. I can't do that. And she said, well, you get paid a lot of money, but you just got to shave your mustache. And I said, and I said, how much? He goes, like $200 an hour. I said, all right. So I tried modeling. I wasn't very successful at all. I was too short, point blank. I lied about my height. I said I was 5'11" when I'm 5'9". And I did modeling. I didn't like it. And then I got into acting. And in my hometown, they think of you kind of like, yeah, right, if you're going to try to be a model or an actor. And so there was a lot of pressure. So right when I started acting, I got put into a mental institution. And I was there for 2.5 weeks. Just horrible. Then I got out, I escaped. It's a whole story, it's in my book. And it's funny, actually. And kept pursuing acting and got all my children in
Yeah.
about a year and a half after the mental institution. I got all my children. I don't know how I did it. Now I really, because I'm 62 now and I've been through so much that, back in the day, people would say, man, you're doing this and you've been in, you're bipolar and all that. I said, yeah, it is what it is. But now that I look back, I don't understand how I did it. But I think it was the will to make it.
Yeah.
Nobody was going to stop me from doing what I wanted and from being the actor I wanted to be.
Do you think that going through those difficult times made you a better actor because you could
Oh,
tap into that emotion and
yeah. What it is this. I'm a method actor, so that's the way I was taught. That's what I wanted to be, and I'm a member of the actor studio now. And you have to use your real life. Now, in acting, it's been great because I get to draw from the pain and the depth and everything that I've been through. But it's in my real life, I definitely have suffered through the years.
mm.
So good for acting, not that good for life.
One of your early roles, I know you played Desi Arnaz in a movie. I actually interviewed Lucy Arnaz, Desi and Lucille Ball's daughter recently, and it was so interesting to just hear her take on their life and all of that. What was that experience like for you getting to play such an iconic man? And how did you watch his videos? How did you
You
learn?
know, Yeah, that's interesting because later on I played John Gotti, and with John Gotti there was no tape. He just only did one interview
Mm.
with his grandson and his daughter Victoria, where he talked like this, don't I'm your grandpa, you don't disrespect me, understand me.
Yep.
And then for Desi there was a lot, but there was one particular thing they showed me, which was the end of the movie, and I got to do it verbatim, and it was the best acting because I didn't think I was. I hate my wife. My wife heard me say this right now because she'd always every time people loved that movie, and I didn't think I was good. So she just says, just tell him thank you, honey. Don't you don't have to get into it. But in that particular, I got to watch him, and then I really did a good job at the end of this monologue because I got to watch him do it, and he has a way of speaking, and it was like when I first came to the country, I didn't have a cent in my pocket. But that's the way he really spoke. And then as Desi, I mean Ricky, as Ricky, it would be like, oh, come on, Lucy. Lucy, come on. So for the movie, what happened is they wanted me to be Ricky. And I was like, so I had to do what they wanted. I was young. I couldn't say no. So I had to speak, but for people watching, they loved it because I sounded just like him.
Yeah.
But I didn't think it was had enough depth.
Well, I loved it. I thought you were fantastic. I'm a huge Lucy Desi fan. I thought you were great. So, yeah, I just had to ask you about that. Eventually, you got All My Children and then General Hospital. And of course, you are obviously most well known for being Sonny Corinthos. I'm sure people stop you on the street and want a picture with you. Do you remember the first time you were recognized as Sonny and someone wanted to have a moment with you, like a fan?
No, I don't remember this. I've been doing it for 32 years now. So it's hard to remember the first time. I just remember like going to the Emmys and just it was pandemonium. It's like I had cops with guns with me. And I remember them saying, I've been to the Oscars and I've been to the Grammys and nighttime Emmys, and this is outrageous. Fans they're so loyal, they're so into it.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like, when you walk through the grocery store or something like that, your face has been on the cover of magazines like Soap Opera Digest for so many years. How do you feel about that kind of thing? Are you the kind of guy to pick it up and want to look at it for a second, or do you just kind of turn away and not pay too much
Uh,
attention?
in all honesty, for a long time, maybe 30 years, I would look at them and stuff. Now I don't. It's kind of like it is what it is. Well, we don't have that anymore.
Yeah,
That's
it's
right.
digital now.
Yeah, they don't have it anymore. Yeah, but before, yeah, because my ego was out of control, so I would I had to be on why am I not on this cover? Why am I on the? Oh, it was ridiculous.
That's hilarious. I recently interviewed Nancy Lee Grahn, and we talked about General Hospital and what it's like to be a soap opera actor. And I'm so curious because it feels like there is so much dialogue that has to be memorized so quickly. So just as a fan, I'm curious, how often or how far in advance do you get your scripts, and how do you memorize that level of dialogue so quickly?
You know, it becomes a muscle. You get the scripts a week in advance. It becomes a muscle. Okay. But I tell you what, it's not that hard anymore. Okay. What was hard was when I had to come back to work after being out of work for 2 weeks, sick, and having anxiety and everything, and then having to do 20 shows in 2 weeks.
That's
Now
unbelievable.
that it's To do 20 shows healthy
Hmm.
is unbelievable. To do 20 shows the way I was feeling, it is. And the first day, it is no lie. The first day I came back, I was on a ledge wanting to kill myself. I mean,
Art versus real life and the feelings that
always,
go into it.
always. Yeah, always.
Yeah. What's a typical day like in your life on the set? I mean, are you filming every day of the week? Do you have a schedule in advance? And how many hours are you there? What does it look like for you?
It's the greatest job in the world. It really is because you're only there. If you get a morning call, you're there in the morning. You're usually off by lunch. Um, you're never there like a lot of hours, like you are in movies and nighttime. So, and you're in a room and it's comfortable and you have your couch and your TV and it's really a fantastic job.
Do you think that that's the biggest difference between a soap and a movie? Like, what do you find to be the biggest differences
Yeah.
between working on a movie set and a soap opera?
Well, there's a lot of differences, but like I hated when I'd be in my trailer and somebody, we're ready for you right when gonna take a nap. It's like, oh man, I've been waiting for 8 hours. And then when you have to shoot from this angle to that angle to that angle. Oh man, it's so tedious because I've done mainly soap opera, General Hospital. So if you're a movie actor, you're used to that. But I see a lot of movie actors come to General Hospital and they're like, "Oh, can I get another take?" No, no, we're gone way down there. They're like, "What?" I
That's
suck.
incredible.
Yeah,
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 it's
it's
so
true.
weird. The world that you come out of and what you become comfortable with.
Yeah. So,
What
but I will say, people say soaps is hard. Yeah, it's hard because it's fast, but also the nighttime in movies is difficult because um, you have to do it so many different times in one shot, and it's like it just you got to know your energy and everything is.
do you think that's the hardest part about your job is the quick moving pace?
Yeah, look, if you got to do 7 pages of it, used to be more difficult back in the day. Now we don't get because now we don't get time. Then we had more time, but we had to do 8, 10 pages in one scene. Whereas now it's 1, 2, 3 pages. When you have to do 8 to 10 pages in one take, it's very difficult, very difficult.
That's
So yeah, but they've shortened the amount of pages because they know it's just probably too hard.
well, you talked earlier about obviously your battles with bipolar and depression and all of this. And I know that you worked with the writers of General Hospital to actually work that into your character. How do you remember those conversations and how you wanted to achieve that for Sonny?
Yeah, they came to me like a year and a half, and said, "Would it be all right if we use your bipolar and have Sonny have bipolar?" I said, "Yeah, it's great." And like I told you before, it is great, but I didn't know that how it was going to affect my life 30 years later.
Hmm.
So, but for acting, it was pretty damn good.
Yeah. You said you're a method actor, so I'm wondering if you're doing a scene where it's really emotionally taxing on you, do you have you figured out a way to separate that when you go home and you kind of just let go whatever was going on in your day or because it's so closely tied to who you are as a human, is that more difficult for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. It was very difficult to do that early on for a lot of years. And then lately I've been able to, but it still seeps in. So now I have a therapist and a psychiatrist, and we're all working together as a team, so that way I could fix the problem. Um, but in the beginning, forget it, man. I mean, I'd come home, I'm still the guy.
Yeah, and I mean, Sonny's had some pretty heavy storylines throughout the years.
Yeah, I mean, I just had this conversation with somebody. I said, the problem is the body doesn't know the difference, right? Bad actors have it easy. They don't suffer.
Mm,
They're not going to that place, right?
right.
It's the better actors that it hits in those places because we're digging in there, and then you're like, oh man, maybe I shouldn't have. One time I told somebody this recently. I said, I heard my mom and dad on the set, and I knew this is not good, because
Wow.
it got to a point, and it did, and then I had a anxiety attack.
I heard you say in a recent podcast episode that there was a point when you were only happy when you were sleeping and dreaming. And that
Yeah.
was what you looked forward to all day long. So now, at this point in your life, what do you think happiness looks like to you? What makes you happy? Is it still that, or have you found other things in your life to bring you that same feeling?
For me, happiness is peace within.
Mm,
I mean, for me, it's like day to day, man. Today I feel peace
yeah.
within. Yesterday I kind of did, and the day before, not really. But I've learned now to, no matter what it is that I'm feeling, it's just a feeling. And there's nothing, it's not going to kill me. It's not going to, you just, be as one with the feeling. That's kind of what I'm learning. And
Yeah.
it's been cool. Today's cool.
That's awesome. I am an avid listener of your podcast, State of Mind. Talk about how you decided to do that, the theme of it, and just all of the things that go along with it, because I think it's fantastic.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That always moves me because it's such hard work, as you know. And I'm like, sometimes you're like, oh, how can I keep? I started. I was sleeping. I haven't said this much. Uh, I was sleeping, and I woke up and I had an anxiety attack. So I took my camera and I started filming because I wanted the fans to see what it's about. This is way early on, 5 years ago. And I put the camera on, and as I'm watching that, Steve Harvey's on the show, whatever show he was on, saying, "Can you believe these guys shoot themselves doing anything anymore?" And I'm like, I laughed, and it was good to laugh in that state, right? So, and I'm going to do his show actually, Family Feud, coming up. Um, so the next day, my friend Melissa, she's like, "Hey," I told her that, and she goes, "Why don't you shoot yourself?" Talking about your mental health. I said, "Who the hell cares about that, Melissa?" She goes, "Well, you never know. I mean, it's interesting." I said, "But on on the phone?" Yeah. She goes, "Do it put it out on Sunday." I said, "Nobody watches anything on Sunday." She goes, "Just put it out on Sunday and see what happens." Well, no lie, for I started doing it during the pandemic, and I was in horrific shape then. But I started doing it on the phone, 8 minutes of me talking. Nobody does it on Instagram story. You don't get that. 8 minutes of me going. And I would put a song in the beginning, and then I would come into the song and I'd do myself in there, and then Instagram would take the songs away from me and say, "You can't do that." And I would do it every Sunday, and I started getting 10,000, 20,000 people. And I said, "This is working, man." And so somebody said I should go to YouTube. And I usually don't like to change. I said, F YouTube is what I said, but whatever. And then I decided to put it on YouTube, and it was struggling in the beginning, and then just something happened. I didn't know if I could do what you do. I don't, I'm an actor, never. So I thought, well, we'll see. And I'm nervous. The first one, I'm nervous. Second one, second one, second one. And I said to myself, listen, here's what I'm going to do. It ain't going to be like an interview. I'm just going to, of course, you beginning, middle, and end it, but just take it to where it goes. But to me, I want it to be like having lunch. So I'm like, hey, how you doing? Yeah, good, good. So listen, you were born. Oh yeah, you were born. So I wanted to do that because interviewing is not really my thing. So it started kicking off, man, and I started getting people like Cheryl Underwood, Frank Grillo, Stephen A. Smith. It just started growing. But it's as you know, it's a up and down thing. Sometimes it's up, then it goes down, and I started getting frustrated.
Yep.
But you know what I mean,
I
right?
do. I do.
Yeah.
Consistency is king, though. If
But
you can stay consistent.
that's right. That I did know. And I knew that if I could just stay consistent every Sunday, that stuff would happen. And here we are. But it's what I'm most proud of. And it's like my baby. I mean, GH Sonny, I'm very proud. I'm very proud of the fans. They're General Hospital fans, my fans, they're just been with me from the beginning, and they can never say anything negative. It's amazing. I mean, I know they do on when I maybe other social medias, but on my stuff, they're always positive. On State of Mind, always positive. I don't care. I will watch one and go, that's not that good. And then they'll be like, that's the greatest thing. And I love them for that, man. Love them for that.
You certainly have some dedicated fans. Do you have a memory of a special fan encounter that you won't ever forget?
Well, yeah, there's two things that happen. Um, and one is when I first started General Hospital, I didn't want to talk about. I was told not to talk about being bipolar because I would not get hired by directors who thought I was crazy. So I didn't talk about it for a while. But then I said something in an article, and I got a letter. Those days, you get letters, and this little boy wrote me and said, because of what I read about you in this article, it helped me get through my brother's suicide.
Oh my gosh.
And I said, all right, I'm gonna talk, and I'm not gonna shut up. And that's what I've done for the last over 32 years. The other fan thing is Melissa, the one I told you about. She was a fan, and this has never been done, I think, or maybe it has. She was a major fan, like, right? And then I ended up living with her for years.
Wow.
I mean, I mean, we struggled. I had to kind of, say, you got to take it easy here. But um, she's still our great friend who works on, she started State of Mind, actually. She's put it all together and stuff. But she was a fan. I mean, the odds of that working are none.
Really, honestly, yeah. So, looking ahead, what are some of the goals that you have for yourself, for the podcast, maybe acting?
Um, for acting, I like doing GH because it's less pressure. I don't have the ambition that I used to have when I was for 25 years of wanting to do. But if my wife's my agent, so if she gets me a good movie, I wouldn't say no. But I know the pressure of doing that. Um, so I'm cool with GH, and with as far as State of Mind, look, the bottom line is one thing I know about State of Mind is it's helping people.
Mm.
That's a fact because I get to read things and I get to hear people. But I would like to take it to another level. That would be the next goal, and I'm working on it right now. My wife's working on it, and because you take it to another level, you're helping more people.
Exactly.
So, but I know that I can't lose sight of what it is about, which is helping people. But I do want to broaden, and then we could really help. Like, right?
I love your merchandise that you
I
have.
do
Positive
too.
affirmations. It is so cool.
Yeah, you're stronger than you knows the one that sells the most. And my wife, it's what my wife tells me when I'm messed up. She's always, you're stronger than you know. To the point where I'm like, enough of that struggle.
I think she's right.
Well, I know she's right, man. But when you're in it, it almost seems like, no, I'm not.
All right. Final question. If you could go back and have a conversation with your younger self just starting out, what would you want him to know?
Um, I would probably say to him, but like my son, he doesn't care what people think, but I would definitely say, if you care what people think, fix that now. Because when you stop caring what people think, it just, your whole life opens up. It's the caring what people think that get it. Do you know that this is, that's my fact. I asked, I ask everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people in State of Mind, I ask them, do you care what people think? And they say yes or no. The people that say yes, like the majority, 9 out of 10 maybe, are mentally ill.
Interesting. Very
And it's,
interesting.
yes, and like my wife doesn't care, my son, Frank Grillo didn't care, Stephen A. Smith didn't care. They're not mentally ill.
Mm,
And then the other people I've asked, of course, like me, I'm working. It's something you have to work. If you have it, you have to work on getting rid of it.
right.
What about you?
Do I care what people think? I don't care what people think. I think I don't think about that because I've always been really focused on what I want for my life and what I
Yeah,
look at as success, and starting this podcast or I do a television show and I've always just kind of had my eye on the prize. And
yeah.
I think if you're a goal-minded person and driven in that way, you're so focused on that all the other stuff doesn't really get in the way.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's your life is so easier. I mean, sort of for me, that side of that is what makes everything hard.
I agree. When I first started out in the business, someone said to me, you need your board of directors, and your board of directors are the people in your life that you go to ask advice or ask their opinion. And those are the opinions that matter. Like I asked my
Yeah.
husband or my sister or people that I admire in the industry. And those are the opinions that I listen to, and everybody else, I don't really care. Um, so I've kind of looked at my life in that way. I thought that was
That's
a
the
good
way it
piece of
should be.
advice.
Yeah, the way it
Yeah.
should be. Wow.
This has been such an this might be the most inspiring, like moving conversation I've had. And I've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of interviews.
Well,
Um,
thank you. It's been
thank
great.
you. Thank you
No,
for being
hey,
so open and honest.
yeah, it's the only way I can be. Even if I didn't want to be, I'd have to be.
Well, I think you're helping so many people. And I think especially some young actors who look to you are going to learn so much about the industry and how it's okay to be yourself and to honor that.
Yeah, very important. I love young actors.
Mm. Well, thank you so much, Maurice.
Thank
What
you.
an inspiring afternoon. I have been
Oh,
looking
thank
forward
you.
to this. So thank you.
All right, we'll see you later.